Okay, we've got an interesting topic today here on the Healthy Church Staff Podcast, because what if I told you that your staff meetings could look more like an ER shift than a board session? Ministry today is chaotic, it's unpredictable, often overwhelming, like an ER room, just like a trauma bag. But what if that's not a bad thing? What if we could learn to lead like ER nurses? I love to unpack different metaphors. I did one a couple days ago here on the podcast. And today, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you 3 critical skills from the ER that could transform how you lead your team, especially in seasons of pressure and burnout. You're listening to the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. My name is Todd Rhodes, one of the co-founders over at chemistrystaffing.com. Okay, let's talk about ER nurses. What in the world are we talking about ER nurses on a church staff health podcast for? Hang with me, and hopefully I'll make my point and you'll see. First, let's talk about triage, all right? ER nurses don't just treat the loudest patients first. That would be a mess. They treat the most urgent first. That's triage. And in church leadership, we often rush to whoever's in crisis or shouting the loudest. Healthy church leaders know how to assess the real urgency. At least they should. Not everything is a 5-alarm fire. And the loudest voice isn't the one that you need to run to and pacify or work with first. Not every email needs an immediate reply. Not every idea needs to be implemented this Sunday. And you quickly learn that in church work and in ministry work, compassion doesn't mean treating everybody equally. It means treating what matters the most first. And great ministry leaders learn over time to discern what's bleeding out and what can wait until tomorrow. It's a matter of priorities. So that's the first thing. The first thing is that triage is not cold. Identifying what needs your attention. It's not cold. It's actually compassionate leadership. And then number 2, we need to stay calm when the room starts spinning. In the ER, chaos is constant. I don't know if you've ever been in an emergency room when there's like a real emergency. I've been in an emergency room a few times. Was it important? Not for me, but with family members. Where is it life critical? No. Is it something that needs medical attention? Yes. But sometimes you're there it's an emergency. You need the medical attention, but it's not life-threatening. And all of a sudden, a life-threatening person or group of people comes in and they take instant priority. There's instant chaos. There's chaos, but there's not panic. I've never been in an ER room where there's panic. Nurses are trained and doctors are trained in their ER work to bring calm to the room and to the situation. And as ministry leaders, we should be no different. We're not just reacting to pressure. You're regulating the environment. When the budget tanks or when the staff drama explodes or when the sermon falls flat, you either match the chaos or you model the calmness. And the best church leaders I know bring peace into that panic. They ground the room when the emotions fly. It's not denial. It's leadership under pressure. All right, so that's number 2. You got to stay calm when the room starts spinning. And believe me, in church ministry, the room spins really fast sometimes. Okay, number 3, emotional debriefing is a survival skill. So after a traumatic event in the ER, nurses debrief. It's how they survive the emotional weight of the constant crisis. And in ministry, man, we need to do the same thing. Just think about it. We are carrying some invisible wounds all the time. When's the last time your team debriefed after a really painful situation? Not just logistically debrief, but emotionally. We don't do this well in church culture. And emergency room culture acknowledges this emotional exhaustion that comes after a big crisis when everybody is doing everything to fix everything that needs to be fixed right now. Church culture often does not acknowledge the emotional exhaustion that comes from ministry. But if you want to last in ministry, you've got to somehow normalize that emotional processing, both personally with yourself, but also with your team. You need to be able to say, man, that was heavy. How you doing? That needs to be a part of your regular staff rhythm. All right, so here's the bottom line for today as we're looking at this metaphor of what we can learn as church leaders from emergency room nurses and doctors, okay? Here's the bottom line. ER personnel don't just work hard, they work smart. They work under pressure and they work with purpose. And ministry leaders can do the same. Matter of fact, we have to do the same. Hopefully this gave you maybe just a different way to look at things and maybe a different framework for leading your church or your staff, particularly when, I think it's a great metaphor, when the room is spinning. You're leading your church under pressure. When you take a hit, hopefully this has been a little bit helpful for you today. And if you'd like to have a conversation, maybe you're neck deep into a situation where you're like, Todd, I don't know who to talk to, but I got to talk to somebody. I'd love to be your person to talk to. Reach out to me, podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. I have a few slots in my schedule every week where I'm able to talk with listeners of the podcast that just reach out and say, hey, I want to talk about this, or hey, Todd, can you help me or my church in this area? And I'm happy to do whatever we can. So reach out, podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. All right, that's it for today. Hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you again right here tomorrow.